And we are live. Hello, everybody.
We are live. Hello. Welcome back to the Bucketheads Sunday live stream.
Sunday fun day.
Oh, Steve, you can't lean in there. You're exposing yourself. We've clearly got someone with us in studio. We'll get to those folks in just a moment here. My name is Andy Brown.
And I'm Marco Basso.
Together we are Transmute Pictures. We're a couple of knuckleheads who in 2018 released a Star Wars fan film, Bucketheads, A Star Wars Story, that got some nice acclaim on YouTube. So we decided to keep the series going, or rather make it into a series for Bucketheads Season 1, which is upcoming. We got a little housekeeping to take care of first. Wanted to let everybody know, the patrons in particular, but others who are interested in becoming a patron, we're working on the round two of the propaganda posters. Stuart Manson, the same artist, is working on another one for us. The patrons in particular got to see the excellent Gallius Rax posters that he created with the help of Anil Sharma, who did some wonderful photography for us for those. So we're continuing that series. The second poster is coming up, and there'll be some other goodies, as always, coming up for the patrons. If you guys want to get involved in the Patreon, there's a link below in the description of this live stream. Please head over and check it out. There's lots of awesome stuff we've curated for you guys. Physical rewards, digital rewards, you get updates on the project, special behind-the-scenes stuff that other people won't get to see. And we really need your help in doing this, which kind of leads us into point number 2.
Yes, because the Patreon has been going for almost a month now, I believe.
Just about, yeah.
Right.
31st was the release date.
And it's doing really well. Thank you for everyone who's been contributing to it. However, we are still quite a ways away from our 5,000 a month goal, which means we need to slightly revise our approach to how we will shoot episode 1.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what we've said many times before, we will make episode 1. That is going to happen. No matter what, Marco and I, alongside a whole team of people, have been working very hard to show you guys this really cool story, and we want to make sure that you guys are getting to see episode 1. So without hitting that $5,000 a month goal, we know we need to revise it and break it down a little bit into smaller, more manageable chunks for us to film. So that's currently what we're going to be doing for episode 1. It will come out, it's just not going to be filmed in its entirety in one chunk. We would totally love to do this for every other episode, but it really depends on the support that we can get for the project. So continue talking to your friends and family about it, sharing our posts and things, and just getting people excited about Bucketheads. We need people to help support the project through our Patreon, and that helps us get it out to you guys faster.
But we still want to bring you more exciting content. So next weekend we're actually shooting another small Star Wars project, which is the first episode of Tales from the 501st.
Yes, Checkpoint. That is the episode name. So we won't be live streaming next weekend. We will be on set shooting. But yeah, we want to show you guys another exciting story in the first of the anthology series Tales from the 501st.
Yes, we will be on set, but we will be filming plenty of behind-the-scenes content as well. Perhaps even a little stream from the studio.
Ooh, perhaps. We'll
see.
I think we're gonna spitball that one as we
go.
So we do have some folks with us in studio and joining us from outside the studio. Actually, they're calling in as well. The Generation X-Wing podcast boys. We saw some of them lean into the one of the cameras early on. With us here in studio, we have Steve Davey, who has been on the show before. We also have Rob Williams. So thank you both for joining us in studio. And then on the stream, we've also, I guess, where is it? It's down here on the video. We also have Jamie Millman, another member of the Gen X-Wing podcast, and Anil Sharma, who has done some work with us before and is the final member of the podcast. Anil, why don't you say some words, because I think the screen flips when you guys talk. Oh, I saw some hands go up. I think we might have an audio.
Are you muted, Anil?
Anil's muted.
You gotta unmute yourself, bruh.
Stop eating pancakes.
Now Jamie's muted. I don't know.
There we go. So that's Anil. Here's
Your
Anil
good
Sharma.
stuff.
So these are the 4 members of the Gen X-Wing podcast. Hey guys, thanks everybody for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
This is awesome. We're
Yeah.
excited. It's really cool.
Yeah, we've been on your guys' show before, but it's about time.
Well,
that
he
you join
has.
us.
I mean, you've been sick.
I've been
You've
there.
been there.
That's
You've
how.
been there.
So what do you got right now?
I cannot release. It's actually being studied. It's a new thing being studied by the Center of Disease Control. So
Okay. So
you're all gonna
I
have
think
to
I
go.
know who won the bet.
You're all gonna have to sign a form. When you
It's
when you
just a real life zombie. There's nothing else that can get him anymore.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's all in there.
Yeah, pretty
Like
much.
the
And I look
Caesar.
damn good for it. So, let's start with our classic question that we have for everybody. We'll take it one by one here, but the classic opening question, which I guess Steve has probably answered before, but you're gonna have to do it again. It's a bit generic, but it gets you guys in the zone. What's your favorite Star Wars moment out of all the media that exists for Star Wars? Right? There's a lot.
What did you choose?
I'm not going to tell you.
I watched the same thing you did.
Go first.
All right, favorite Star Wars moment. Oh gosh, I like the AT-ATs. So the first thing that came to my mind is the AT-ATs. I love the AT-ATs stomping around on the ground and just blowing away. So I like to push this in Anil's face, but I had an AT-AT as a kid, and it was one of my favorite toys. And so whenever I see that, I'm really excited. But Jabba's Palace is always the best too. Anytime I see Rees on, yeah, you're gonna hear me say Rees all the time. But anytime I see Rees mugging C-3PO, I kind of feel good there too. So.
Copy that. Does that tell us something about your character? I don't know.
Oh yeah, totally.
3 eyes.
3 eye.
Me?
For you,
Third eye.
Mr. Baby.
I'm going to stick to what I believe I said last time, which is similar to Rob, but it's the Probot scene. So on Hoth, the Probot looming out of the snow, and they're like, "Ooh, what's that?" That was just great, and then that led into everything else that I loved about Empire.
Nailed it.
It's a great sound.
Anil, we've got you on screen right now. Why don't you tell us what your favorite Star Wars moment is?
In Empire, right before Yoda lifts the X-Wing out of the swamp and basically breaks it down what the Force is, because the Force is everything to Star Wars. So that's my moment.
Classic moment. I love it. Jamie, Mr. Millman?
Mine kind of parallels Anil's a little bit. It's the scene in A New Hope where Obi-Wan's breaking it down for Luke. So he's constantly got these old farts telling him what the Force is. But
What's the fart?
Use the fart.
in all seriousness, though, like the scene and the dialogue and Alec Guinness's acting and the music in that scene is awesome.
You can't have a lip slip like that and then go in all seriousness. It's just hard to stick with it.
Did you just say lip slip?
Yes, it is.
Lip slip? Yeah. What?
About a fart.
A lip slip about a fart. Yeah, wow. Okay. Oh, boy.
Farting
let's
and
go the whole-
what's going on here? I don't know what I signed up for.
Yeah. You see, well, I mean, we knew what we were getting into when we brought you guys on the show, so.
Yeah.
So basically, we got philosophy and teachings, and then big stuff and robots.
Yes.
Aliens.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We divided the room.
Philosophies to droids. Well, those are both really important parts of Star Wars, I guess.
Star Wars is all encompassing.
I want to add also the biker scout scene. I mean, not just because we have the bike, the bucket, but it's just I love just the zooming through the trees. It's just
Right.
it's
Perfect.
action, so.
Yeah. Very cool.
Actually, on the note of that Biker Scout helmet, we already have some audience members that noticed it and are very impressed by it. Pong Krell says, that's a cool Scout Trooper helmet you got there.
Yeah.
Want to tell us a little bit more about that helmet?
This is it's Bucketheads. I had to bring my bucket. This is the one that was actually in the trailer, so
Nice.
this is now canon. But it's my bucket for Scout Trooper, a member of the 501st. Jamie's also a Scout Trooper as well. He's a member of the Steve's a member of the 501st, and
Not a scout trooper.
not a Scout Trooper, TK, a Stormtrooper, so much cooler. And I just thought we'd just bring it and show it off. Got some BDU stuff we thought we'd show off, just kind of because you guys worked so hard with the Outer Rim Garrison, and I just wanted to represent. And I always see, and to boot, I also have a challenge coin, and I am now officially challenging you, sir.
Ooh, okay, mine's actually...
So while they
Oh,
dig for the
someone
next
that
5
got the
hours,
pants
what's
down.
across the room? While they dig for the next 5 hours for the coin, basically I've challenged them. So if they produce, and they have produced, a coin then I owe them a drink. It looks like I owe them a drink.
Is that a challenge?
I owe them a drink. Oh well, there you go. Here's
I
the
see
point.
Jamie has one there.
Does
And
Neil have one?
Let's see you this.
James
Right.
is always carrying.
Yeah, Anil owns
Oh,
one.
Anil's struggling here. Hold on.
Neil's
He's
got
got
his
60
fingers full of
seconds.
syrup right now. So there you go. I think I got Neil to buy drinks for everybody. Blue milk, possibly.
Ooh.
Blue milk.
Speaking,
But
speaking of blue milk,
don't look
Anil,
at the screen. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to look at the screen.
Anil had something special there for us with the blue milk as well, but we see him struggling for his coin. I think he thought he was sneaky in not being up on the screen so he wouldn't.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Oh,
Nah, he made it.
He's got the best one. He's got my outer rim rookie coin. That's awesome.
There you go.
Perfect. Yeah.
I knew
So-
it by my bedside. That's what it means to me.
Why is it by your bed?
keeps
Are you
it
getting a
every
lot
night,
of coin
right?
challenges while you're laying in bed?
Yes, my wife's always challenging me in bed.
I keep it by my bed just in case I get challenged.
And you're always challenging for your
Crazy?
life
Is that too
dreams.
easy?
Spicing it up in the bedroom.
Oh my
Little coin.
Well, so it was brought up here just a moment ago about what maybe we should have as our rewards for the coin challenge, blue milk. But Anil, you had showed us something pretty interesting there before we jumped into the live stream regarding blue milk.
Show us the blue milk, sir. Is he digging?
There you
it?
go.
There we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Blue milk powder.
So where is this from?
Amber's
This is from mainland China. It's I don't have any desire to open it. I really don't know what to do with it. And you know what? How about this? Why don't we make this a Patreon prize for
Yeah,
You
that
know.
would be awesome.
Are we allowed to
Yeah.
give out
So
food?
someone can.
sealed.
Yeah.
Is it food?
Yeah, it is.
It's blue
it
milk
is
powder.
food.
It's powder.
Yeah.
It has expired.
Only the
expired.
best for our patrons.
Yeah, you're not selling the patron reward here, Anil. There's
So
certain parts you should
Expired
leave out when you're
powder
talking
from
about
China can be
Get rid of
yours.
it.
The
Just make it a
instructions are all
quiz.
in Mandarin,
We'll do
so
a
good
quiz
luck
and
with
give it
that. I believe it's from New Zealand though somehow, so I'll figure that out. It's a full-bodied taste, the milk that New Zealand grew up with, versatility that's ready for all of your family.
Wow.
Tell you what, I
Well,
will drink that. I will
I'm
drink
not-
that as a challenge.
Okay, so in a later stream, we're either going to have this as a reward for the patrons, or we'll have Rob back on to drink it, whichever is, the
There's your
prevailing.
reward.
Yeah.
Blue
I
vomit.
might even throw in a drawing of Aunt Peru. How about that?
That would actually be worth
Ooh,
it.
that's
Yeah,
very
seriously,
cool.
that would be worth
That would
it
be
because
worth
his artwork.
Yes. So for those who don't know, Anil is not only a photographer. I think we said that earlier in the show, but also does some amazing artwork.
Tops cards.
Yeah, Anil. So you've done with us, with Marco and I. You've been doing some photography for the propaganda posters, which Stuart is helping design, but you're doing the photography for that. And then you also did some shoots beforehand with different stormtroopers and whatnot for the original Bucketheads. But you do these top cards as well. Can you talk about the tops cards a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I can grab I'll grab one really quick so you can get the idea of what it's all about. So give me 1 second.
Perfect. Yeah.
I'm so glad he's prepared for this.
So the filler here will be that every time we do a podcast, it's obviously not live on video. It's just recorded. But
Yeah.
we see each other on video. But half the time, Neil is just distracted with doing his drawings. Whether he's doing a commission, whether he's doing some ideas, whether he's doing some sketches.
You hear
Oh,
the
We can
scribbling.
actually see one here, guys.
Yeah,
You
I
hear
know
the
we've got a-
scribbling. Oh, so yeah, here's
Got a card up. These are very cool. Oh, that's
So
awesome.
what I do is, basically I work for Topps, and Topps has a Star Wars license, and every set that comes out, I do about 30 original pieces of art that people can find in, when you buy a pack, it's like kind of a Willy Wonka ticket. There's usually about one in every 2 or 3 boxes of cards, so they can be hard to find, but so I just do the art, and people seem to like it.
The prize is you get to live with Anil for a week. He's the Willy Wonka. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
golden ticket.
Perfect.
Run as
Yeah.
fast as you can.
I will go in the house and make you pancakes.
Oh, blue pancakes.
That's a pretty
Oh my
good.
God.
That's a pretty good reward
The
in
perks
itself.
of zooming into a live stream.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. So yeah, Neil helps create these Topps cards, and it looks like maybe he's going to be giving us a painting of, or a drawing rather, of Aunt Peru to go with that blue milk. So
Aunt Peru will go with the blue milk. There you go. My gift to you guys to keep this sucker going.
Much appreciated. Is there anywhere people can go check out your artwork? You have a website or a Facebook page? Or anything like that?
Check out Space Hindu 73 on Instagram. It's probably the best spot. I'm on Facebook too, but Google Space Hindu and you'll find me.
I will throw that
excellent.
into the chat so people can check you out.
Space Hindu. Google it.
Okay, so we've been talking to you guys for a little bit. We did a short intro, but you are all the gentlemen of the Gen X-Wing podcast. What is the Gen X-Wing podcast?
You want to do it?
I think it's over to you.
Okay.
Do the intro.
Do the intro. Welcome to the Generation X-Wing podcast, a modern look at a retro lifestyle. It's a podcast that looks at 80s and 90s pop culture, as well as a lot of Star Wars stuff to it. We cover movies, television, video games, just a whole wide range of just retro pop culture geekery. And with us having the Generation X-Wing name, we automatically put a lot of Star Wars love into it as well. We're part of like this larger podcast community called the Star Wars Commonwealth, which we have about 7 or 8 different podcasts, all focusing on Star Wars related items, from just collecting to movies, television, books. It's just a whole wide range of things. So the Star Wars Commonwealth is just a great way to just have that Star Wars love. And for us, we like to focus a little more not just on Star Wars, because it's a lot of fun when we talk about, like, coming up soon we'll be talking about the movie Idiocracy, which is so much
so relevant
fun,
today.
yet scary at the same time. But then we did whole reviews on The Mandalorian episode by episode. So, and when we have 4 people here who are extremely knowledgeable, lots of fun, and just lived in different worlds at the same time, it's just nice to hear all these different perspectives. And also to boot, 3 of us are members of the 501st Outer Rim Garrison. So to add on to that, I'm going to push myself a little bit here. The Outer Rim Rookie is a show that I do on the YouTube, which basically shows you how I became a member of the 501st Garrison and all the vlogs and troops that I do. In fact, I'm doing one on this one right now. So there's the shirt
there you
right
go.
there.
Yeah,
So,
repping it.
yeah, and Jamie and Steve 3 here were integral to helping me get, and I can't forget Terry, obviously Terry Chu, but they're integral of helping me become a member, and so I'm very thankful, and that's a big part of it as well. So
Very cool.
Excellent.
How long has the podcast been running for you guys?
it's 5 years now. We're 247 episodes as of this week, and
Holy cow.
we've done other things like trivia contests. And
The contests are the best, man.
I love
when we
GXW
when we come up with the
I forgot to bring the
contest, it's great. And lately, Jamie's been doing the hosting of the contest, so Rob gets to join in for once. And
Nice.
the bickering is brilliant. I love it.
whining,
Yeah,
moaning.
whining and bickering quiz. It's awesome.
What are the content? They're like quiz shows?
Oh, just quiz shows.
Just come up with some questions. We go through and see who the winner is. And I've only ever won it once.
Twice, I thought.
I think it's only once.
Once? Okay. We've done contests on The Mandalorian, trivia contests on we did one on the 501st, Name the Garrison,
Clone Wars.
Spice World.
Steve got a softball thrown to him with a Deadpool trivia contest that he lost.
But didn't I
I
lose
think
it?
he still lost that one.
I think I lost that one.
I won that one.
Yeah.
Wow. Very proud, Jamie. Very proud.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
so
never-
He comes up with some good questions. Really good.
I never
questions.
will.
speaking of trivia questions, do we want to just field a random Star Wars trivia question to our audience here and see if someone can crack it in the live chat?
So we come up with a question.
Ask Jamie.
Put him in the
He's
hot
the question
seat.
master right
All right,
now.
Jamie, do you have a Star Wars question ready for our audience?
Sure. Yeah, if you give me a sec, actually, since it was just the anniversary of Empire, I could go with that if you want.
Perfect.
What color is C-3PO?
Well, that's
Wait a minute.
That's what we call a softball.
No, yeah, if anybody has listened to the podcast, they'll know that since we're pretty hardcore Star Wars fans, and some of us claim that Empire is their favorite Star Wars movie, I came up with some really difficult questions.
They were hard.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want a hard one for the audience. I think they deserve.
Oh,
A hard one?
yeah.
Okay.
Give him
Yeah,
the,
oh, yeah.
Give him the McQuarrie question.
For all we know, they're Googling it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no googling. Same rules as for the podcast, guys. There's no cheating, especially when we're doing remote podcasts. I'll start with how many do you want? I have a lot.
I think we should just give one out to the audience and see if anybody gets it. So give a
Cool.
hard one. Feel free to give a hard one.
I'll start with what was Wedge Antilles' call sign during the Battle of Hoth?
What was Wedge Antilles' call sign during the Battle of Hoth? That's an excellent.
I loved how we
trivia
answered this
question.
one.
Yeah.
So we'll see if
This
anybody
is the
gets
climax
this.
of
Yeah.
that episode.
No. I'm sorry. What is Nicole saying?
Are you Googling?
No Googles. No, he's not allowed to Google. We can't
He's
let him do that.
answering comments.
I'm just putting it in the.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Call
So
sign.
So for anybody that wants to see your guys' podcasts, your quiz shows, where do they go?
Just go on to just Google GenerationXwing.com. But if you listen to podcasts, you'll probably it's easy to find GXW Generation X-Wing. It's really relatively easy to find, but anywhere where you listen to podcasts. But yeah, GXW is the easiest way to find it. But yeah, it's. We also have it on. Like I said, we also put it on our Generation X-Wing podcast website, YouTube. Not YouTube. Facebook is a great way of getting a link there too. So.
Or iTunes or Spotify as well.
Spotify, yeah. Sorry, I put all that together, but yeah, Spotify's a great way. So
Love it. Awesome. And what about, so you were saying too, I mean, we've been on the show a couple times. I didn't even know about this Commonwealth thing that you were talking about. That, so you guys are part of like a larger sort of umbrella of different...
yeah, so about, I want to say 3-4 years ago, myself, Talk Star Wars, and Tumbling Saber got together. 3 podcasts just happened to get together and just chat. Tumbling Saber and us are from Canada, and Talk Star Wars was from London, England. And we got together and we just kind of made a joke about the Commonwealth and how the 3 of us are very the few outside of America that had Star Wars podcasts. And then we started, okay, let's get together and help promote each other. And then we got other podcasts like Rogue Squadron, Skyhoppers, San Diego Sabers, Sandcrawlers. They just all of a sudden started, the Nerd Room, I can't forget the Nerd Room. They all just started connecting with each other, promoting each other, and just be a positive environment for Star Wars love, but also to help each other become better podcasters and just better hosts. And it's the wealth of knowledge that came out of the Commonwealth was so useful. There's always somebody who's a tech guy. There's always somebody who's a voice guy. A knowledge, the information, the details, promoting. So when we were hoping to go to Celebration this year. And just kind of promote a little bit more,
Right.
But obviously with things going on, maybe we'll do that the next celebration.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to become a better host at a great hobby. It's what it is, because it's not for you don't make a lot of money podcasting unless your name's Seth and or Jericho. But it is a lot of fun. It's a great hobby. So yeah, so check it out, Star Wars Commonwealth. So
Very cool. Awesome. So we had a number of you guys with us on the original Bucketheads and the teaser trailer. You guys came out and acted as our stormtroopers. Do you guys have any memorable moments on set? I know that was, well, I assume, or I think that was kind of your first on-set experience for a few of you, especially as stormtroopers. Was there any memorable stuff for you guys there? Was it different than you thought it would be? Was it harder than, like, you know, because you're used to trooping, I'm sure, so you're used to putting the armor on and stuff, but it's a bit different when you go to set.
I don't know who goes first.
I've talked a lot.
What I will do though is I'm gonna, whether he's gonna want it or not, I'm gonna pass it over to Jamie because I've spoken
thinking
to
the
him
same thing.
before.
about
But
Jamie.
the reason I say that is because me and Jamie were one almost. You know,
Yeah,
we were taking it in turns to put the orange pauldron on certain points, and Jamie became my running man. For some reason, I didn't run, and
Right.
Jamie was like, "I'll do it." And Jamie was the sprinting captain in Bucketheads, and
Yes.
yeah, we kind of, I think both of us were on set every of the 3 days,
Yeah.
but just doing different things, and we got to play many different roles, not on screen but out of screen too.
Yes.
You get to play all different parts of this and volunteer and help out, but yeah, that the memories are always going to be there, and it's always fun to talk about. But I'm going to let Jamie speak a little bit about it because I did last time.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Right, Jamie?
that's see, Steve and I are pretty much one because that's definitely one of my favorite moments. Specifically, It was. I mean, obviously we did that running scene in a few takes, and yeah, I don't. It kind of in hindsight, it was kind of silly to volunteer to run in stormtrooper armor in the middle of the forest because you can't see down.
It was also
And
like
there's-
one of the hottest September longs on
Yeah.
record for like 10 years.
It was
or
about
something.
30 degrees that day. So like on on a good day, that armor is hot. But after one of the takes, Marco and Andy were working out the timing, and Marco came over and looks at me and he says, "Do you think you could do that faster next take?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, of course I can run faster through the forest when I can't see the ground in front of me." But that's the thing is it's so exciting and infectious being on an actual like a real movie set surrounded by stormtroopers, and like Troy's enthusiasm and his work ethic is infectious as well. So I didn't hesitate when Marco asked me to run faster for the next take. So I basically ran as fast as I could and as fast as I've ever run in that armor. And only after the take was over and I kind of looked back across my path and saw how many branches and roots and things were on the ground, it was a miracle that I didn't bail and just do an epic face plant and skid.
And really, we only had one faceplant on the whole
You
thing.
posted,
That was,
you posted that one in
We
your.
did.
Yeah,
That was
so you can see how
Troy.
easy it was for
And
Troy to go.
he
over.
was just walking
Yeah.
slowly there. Like if Jamie actually would have taken it involved, that would have been really bad. And I'm
Yes.
super glad that nothing happened. Because honestly, Jamie, when I ask things like that, I often don't even realize the sometimes what I'm actually asking people to do. I'm just like, hey, it would look better if we could just do this. And, you know, I've been trooping as a stormtrooper for almost 4 years now, so I know what it's like to not be able to see the ground. But in that moment, you're just like in film mode, and you're just like, oh, it'll be easy.
But yeah, you're excited and you're caught up in the moment. And yeah, I didn't second guess it either. There was no hesitation on my part to say, hell yeah, I can do that next one faster.
And
Yeah.
I think it was the same for everybody from the garrison that was there doing it. Because if you take a typical troop, and I think I speak for everyone that's done it, you get there, you pull out your kit, you shine it up, you clean it off, you put it on, and you look after it every
Yeah.
single time. You put it back in, you cover it, you make sure it's all looked after, all of its life. But for some reason, for 3 days, and I think it'd be the same for everyone that was there, was like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
And one of the days was, I think it was the same day, I don't remember. But we Jamie as well, we let in a ditch on our front.
yes.
Yeah.
For a whole day in the heat. And this stuff's not comfortable, man. This isn't lounging pants we're talking
Plastic
about. This is
digging
stiff
into
plastic.
Scout Trooper's pretty comfortable.
Scouts are, yeah, but there was no, well, there was one scout, that was
Yeah,
Steve.
I'm
but-
still jealous of Steve.
Well,
Yeah,
but
it
it was
was,
also it was also a plus 30 day, and doesn't he have some of the heavier fabric stuff too in the Scouts?
Yeah.
He went full like flak vest and everything too, right?
Yeah.
I definitely remember there was moments where Steve he would do his thing, and we got up to like where he got shot, and after every take it was like, we got to check on Steve. How's Steve doing?
Yeah,
And he'd
yeah.
like pull it down. It's like,
It's like that on every troop for him too, though.
Yeah, Steve. I talked to Steve after, and he was really excited. He was so happy, and he still talks about it. And so I'm like super. I hadn't had my armor done by then, and I was just angry at myself for not getting it done because I wanted to at least have a chance to help out a little bit with that. And so every time I see Steve now, I just have bits of jealousy and rage. So
Well, you got your chance now.
yeah, there's gonna be a bigger chance, coming up. So
But even and again, looking back on the days we were there, I remember just getting there in the morning and traipsing through the area where we had to get to because it was a live action
paintball course, yeah.
paintball and airsoft
Airsoft
place.
too,
So
yeah.
we all had to get in our high vis and stumble through, and we'd all carry something. We'd all drag a cart through.
It was
through
super
the wilderness.
collaborative, yeah,
It was through the wilderness, and it was just so much fun. And I just remember being with Jamie in the tent and just sitting there for the day, just going back to the tent, getting ready, going and having some of that great coffee that your
Our craft
your
girl
crafties that
Amanda
provided
Elder was
peanut butter and
fantastic.
jelly sandwich. Everything about it, like every day I look back on that is always a fond memory. But I don't know if I can speak for Jamie on this one. But Jamie, do you remember when I don't know which way to look, but Jamie, do you remember when they had set up the explosion scene for the bunker? And they were setting it up to be exploded, and we were all like, "Man, I want to be there to see this thing exploding," because you weren't just doing one thing at a time, right?
Yeah.
So we knew the bunker was going to explode at some point, and it was going to be a real explosion. It was going to be a boom. And I just remember thinking, we got to be ready to see this. We got to be ready to see this. But the one thing I can't remember is if I actually got to see that.
There was a lot happening. Like, yeah, you're right. We tried to tackle, 2 scenes at any given time, sort of, and bounce back and forth while we set things up. So I'm not. I do recall though a lot of people bustling about, and we kept having to call on the radio, like, everybody back away.
Yeah,
like,
But I
there's
can't
real
remember if
error.
I actually watched it happen or I watched it on the screen now. I can't remember. But so I throw that one out there to Jamie. Do you remember? Because I remember we were so excited about seeing this thing actually blow up. Like, who doesn't love to?
Yeah, I definitely remember. We definitely watched it happen live, basically because it was like a one and done. As far as I remember, they're like, we basically have one shot at this.
Yeah.
And it was Steph, I think, running the air cannon and safety and all that stuff. And yeah, I think everybody who was involved stopped what they were doing to watch this. It was awesome.
And it was going to be even bigger because we had a real propane popper to do an actual fireball that was gonna occur. But then it was so hot out. It was, again, like the hottest September long in 10 years or something, that to get the fire department out was going to be like another 5 or 10 grand or something. And we were just like, we cannot afford this, so we'll have to go with just air. But it turned out really good still.
Plus having the danger of potentially burning down like acres of forest.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much a danger until it became the hottest.
Yeah, it was way too dry. Like, you can't have everything. Like, we had beautiful weather for 4 days straight, which was excellent because we had consistent lighting. If we would have filmed it a month earlier or later, we possibly could have gone with actual fire. But you can't have everything.
Well, I'm glad you brought up, Steve, that you guys were laying down in the ditch, and that for you guys it's always for 501st members, because those costumes are so quality. I'm sure it's always like taking care of your suits and making sure they're pristine.
But it's the time you take to make it, right? It's a journey.
Yeah.
You find it, you get it, you build it, you make it. It's a precious little baby for you for the rest of the time, right?
Yeah,
so you always looked after it. But after Bucketheads, man.
Well, that was the thing for me in meeting you guys, because like Marco knew all of you guys, right? He was our connection to the 501st and to getting everybody on set. But then I was also helping direct and stuff. So then it's like for me the one I remember is, I think it was Chris Balance.
Although Chris was our dead body, our heavy
He
stormtrooper.
was led there for a day
For like a day. It was just like
Drove
I remember like getting to that part and being like, okay, so we gotta go talk to Chris to lay in the dirt. It's like, well, just go ask him. It's like, okay, Chris, can you just lay in the dirt for the next like 4 hours roughly? You can get up and like move around every now and then. But...
He didn't say a peep.
He was great about it.
I remember going over and saying, "Are you good, Chris?" He's like, "Yeah, good." Yeah. But he's led on his back, right? He wasn't led face down. He was just led on his back. He must have been laying there going, "Man, things we do."
But he also had his helmet on too. So I remember also walking over and be like, "Chris," and he'd be like, "Yeah." You're like, "You're awake. Okay, good. You're good. Yeah. All right."
Just put a dummy there and put a helmet on it, right?
Yeah.
No one would have
Could
really
have.
known.
Yeah. Oh, the things we learned.
It's just more real if it's an actual person, It's all about that authenticity that's just so important to us.
Less
With
hassle,
a dead body.
Right? It's less hassle.
That's true.
Can I add something?
Of course.
Now, I wasn't obviously there for that one, but I was there for the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
First, hang on. Neil, how's the pancakes, by the way? You okay? Pancakes
All done.
Okay.
You've changed location.
Hey.
Sorry.
So,
I can't
I was
mess
lucky
with my Sunday routine. I gotta have my pancakes.
I understand that. Yeah, it's a quality way to start your day.
And maybe get up earlier.
Shots fired.
We're going to talk about that right in the next segment.
Shots fired.
But the trailer was a lot of fun. I got to be a part of that, and in costume and out of costume. And Steve and Jamie were there and stuff. And just, I've never been on anything close to a set. Mm-hmm. The first time I've seen green screen was at a TELUS thing, and that was it. But you guys actually were using it for movie stuff, and I was honestly awestruck by the whole thing. And I see guys coming in for makeup, and there's a whole bunch of people sitting in looking like protesters, and it was just nice to be there. And I was just, okay, tell me what to do, direct, okay, don't move, okay. And it was just, I love the fact it was just, you guys were just so focused on how I should behave and how these guys should walk, and I was kind of awestruck with the whole thing. And then you asked me to be a protester. So I'm officially protester number 1, 4, 8, and 12.
Yeah.
And Scout Trooper standing under light number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just happy to see myself there. But it was just, the protesting was a lot of fun because me and Jamie, I think Sarah Diamond was there, and some other people that we didn't know were just standing in clothes, screaming and yelling at nobody.
You guys delivered. Like, I was just like, okay, guys, I need you to be angry. I need you to yell. Let out all your frustration.
There was some pent-up
and you
frustration.
delivered. Like, I was just
I am a
pushed
teacher,
back
sir.
by the audio.
I am a teacher of middle school children. There was some authenticity in there.
I love it.
Get your homework done. Sorry, the mic. But it's just like it was so much fun. Then we have to trade a bit of costumes, and here you hold the hat, I'll hold this, and then the torch came out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was just like, okay, Jamie stand closer to the torch. Then I realized his luscious beard might be going up in flames.
Oh, boy.
But I had a lot of fun that day. And then obviously we had the fire alarm that went off, and so we're standing out in the middle of Hastings Street. Not in the heart of Hastings, but it was enough to where like, so let's go get something to eat. Oh, we have no wallet on us, and everything was closed. And
I carried that credit card close to my chest.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was good times.
Yeah.
Troy was fantastic, and it was. I wanted to thank you for that because it was a good experience of just. I always thought about it. It's a matter of hanging around, hurrying up and wait. But
That's film work.
when you get to it though, it's just like it was kind of exciting. Vancouver or Hollywood North in Vancouver. So
For sure. Well, thank you for coming out and helping us. Really, we're the ones that should be thanking
I'm
you.
willing to do it anytime. It was so much fun.
Yeah, without you guys, Bucketheads just doesn't happen. It's such a volunteer collaborative process. So really thanks to you guys for helping us and coming out and being a part
Thanks
of
for the paycheck. So
You're welcome.
It's in the mail.
you guys are getting paid?
In the mail.
What?
I blame Canada Post on that one.
I gotta adjust this now. You messed it up.
So for people who aren't aware of what Rob was just talking about there with the rioting stuff in the teaser trailer, we've got a riot scene that actually was quite I wouldn't say it's a challenge so much to put it together, but it was a comprehensive scene to shoot because it required quite a number of plate shots. We had out, I don't even know, maybe 10 protesters, but that is not enough to fill like a wide shot background. So we actually had people moving around and acting as different protesters. And as Rob said, they would maybe change like a jacket, or one of them would get a torch one time and then not have a torch another time. And it was quite the process to fill out that background and have everybody yelling and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Quick sidebar here. We actually have we have an answer for the trivia question that Jamie posted earlier today.
Ooh.
So
Is it the answer or just an answer?
it's an answer. I don't know if it's correct because
Be
Jamie
honest,
is,
did you Google it?
is the question master. So Crowen says, I watched Empire last night, so I believe the answer is Rogue 3. Jamie, is that correct?
Ren is correct.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I think he probably got that faster than any of the people on the podcast when I posed that question to them.
Oh, shots fired.
That was okay. So, should we tell them how we got the answer?
We just incrementally went up.
It was just like we had
just started
Red
counting
5,
up
Red
from
2,
one.
Rogue 1, Rogue 2, Rogue 3, Rogue 4, Rogue 5. And
I
then we
win that
eventually
one?
got one of the answers right. So
It's like an
I
auctioneer's.
think I won that one, didn't I?
Yeah, Neil took the Empire one.
Yeah.
Somehow.
yeah, you're in charge of the next round, by the way, Neil. So
Great.
Well, congratulations. Who got the question right there?
That was Crowen.
Crow Ren, you have bragging rights for today's live stream. That's what we've got for you.
But he did watch it last night.
Well, that's true, but he didn't Google it, so
No, the
that's
Knights
really
of Ren.
important.
Hey, can I put
We're
Jamie on
believing
the
you.
spot
Didn't
here
you
with a
guys watch
question?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
how did
I
you get
recently-
your beard so luscious?
Well,
I do need to know this.
actually, it's an Empire question. I recently played Star Wars Trivial Pursuit with a couple people that know way more about Star Wars than I do, and I lost. But there's one question that stuck with me, which is, how many shots does the probe droid on Hoth fire before it gets blown up?
3?
That was my guess.
There's a lot of confidence in that guess.
It's 2.
Oh.
Look at the big man who knows the answer after the fact and lost the contest last night.
Well, three was my
Now's
guess
your
too
moment to
because
shine.
it makes sense.
I
but-
remember one of the questions we had, and again, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I really do. Love watching that movie. And none of the questions I could pinpoint. Well, not all. Well, none of them. But
Yeah.
a lot of them. And one of them I remember coming up was how many probe droids were released from the Star Destroyer.
Right. I couldn't. I don't have a
I think I forgot the
fact-based
answer already.
memory.
Was it 8?
I don't even remember that moment, to be
I
honest.
thought you were going to tell us.
Yeah,
I was
Yeah,
like,
if
the
you want to
correct
use that
answer
as the
was
next
8 for
one, you
that.
can, and we'll probably get the same guy come
No,
back.
it was
But-
the
copy that. Yeah, I don't have a facts-based memory. I would be terrible at all
Yeah.
these trivia.
So it's always interesting. You think you know a movie, and then you get a question about it, you're like, I don't know.
for sure. It's
Guess
those little
I'll
details.
need to watch it for the 600th time.
The devil is in
Only 600?
the details. So Steve, we saw you yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was
Gosh,
yesterday, bright and early.
Man, what a long day.
So funny
that
with you
feels.
guys, man. I thought you'd be used to that. It's like if you have a project you want to set out,
We
you get
used
up
to
early,
be.
right? You
Yeah.
get up early, you get it
Yeah.
done, and then you got your evening.
Listening, Anil?
I suggested 9 o'clock a start, and these guys were like, 9 o'clock? And then,
8 a.m.
and then I pushed it to 8:30 so we could get some supplies. Somebody, though,
What? Somebody
Stuck to
brought
9
the
stuck to
coffee.
9 o'clock. Yeah, you
Oh,
were
he didn't
actually-
tell me it got pushed to 8:30.
Oh, he didn't?
He didn't say a thing.
Well-
This is the first I've heard that this was supposed to be at 8:30.
Well, we could go shopping. We didn't need him
we
there.
didn't need him. He
I
could go
know.
shopping
I
for
know
us
what
later.
it's like in the morning.
I
It was funny to have Andy as our little whipping boy. That was great. It was
Yes.
awesome. I do appreciate the coffee though.
I make a good whipping boy. Though,
At least
so.
you know that if you need me to do anything, just buy me coffee and I'm happy.
I'm the exact same way. So I operate in that function. If you give me coffee, I'll be
Yeah.
good and all those things. But
But that
until
was a fun
moment-
day.
It
Are we allowed
was.
to talk about it or
Yes,
not?
that's why I wanted you to talk about
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
so we a while ago for Fan Expo and for the Garrison, 3 members. I think it was 3 members at the beginning. It was Paul, Nick, and myself. Started putting together some moisture evaporators. We finally finished one. We were going to do 2, but then one was going to be a smoothie dispenser or something like that, like a cocktail dispenser. But that never
Nice.
got done. But yeah, we did one, and we had it on show at Fan Expo. If anyone went to Fan Expo, they would have seen it there. It was pretty cool. We really enjoyed doing it because I don't know if we can call it 1-to-1 scale. It's pretty much 1-to-1 scale.
I think it is.
It was awesome.
And it's
Yeah.
got the
It's
lights
like
and the
8 feet
sounds.
high or 10
Yeah, and
feet
we just
high.
built this out of bits and pieces, which I
Yeah.
love. It's just collecting stuff up and building it. But then it just sat in storage for a while and got a little bit beat up. So we were out there adding some new paint and making it look fresh and cool. And you guys were
Yes.
saying how you wanted it, and we had some special little things to it. And
Yeah.
it was a fun day of painting and getting dirty and
Truly.
finding out how we're going to weather this thing and make it look like it had been
Being
out
a
in the
whipping
desert.
boy.
But,
Yeah, it was a good day.
And next weekend we're actually going to put it in front of a camera.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. So this was for Checkpoint, which again is coming up next weekend. We won't have our live stream next weekend because Marco and I will be shooting Checkpoint with some of our crew. But yeah, yesterday we were with Steve Davey doing some paint touch-ups. Steve is also, I don't think he said this time around, but on our last stream we talked about it a lot, a cosplay extraordinaire. So Steve has some very good experience in building and weathering and, you know,
Yeah.
putting these things together. So we had
It's always fun to build anything. It's so much fun to just get out there and create something out of pretty much nothing, right?
Yeah.
And just use your interpretation. We weren't copying anything. We were just building our own, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because now it's yours, right?
Yeah.
It was cool to see you work, honestly, because I mean I have some experience building and painting miniatures and weathering, but that's a bit of a different process, especially when you're looking at something that's 8 to 10 feet tall. So it was fun just watching you go through the different things. I think I tried my hand at a tiny bit of weathering, and I looked at what you and Marco had done, and I was like, no, I'm done here. But then you were throwing sand at it, and
Yeah.
you know we
And
we
then
had.
there's the whole thing of less is more.
Less
The
is more,
angry
yes.
sand application was the best part of it.
It was the most fun to watch, honestly. It was kind of like watching Salt Bay.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? The Bam dude.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that guy.
Well, that's Salt Bay, but then is it Caesar?
Yeah, I know who you're talking.
He's
it's gonna bug me
the
now.
original Salt Bay, basically. Yeah,
So yeah, that was fun. So hopefully that will come off the way.
I think it's gonna look good. I already thought
Yeah.
it looked good, but I'm happy that we got to do the touch.
I'm happy at the end of it when we dismantled it. We labeled it.
Yeah.
Now life's gonna be easier,
Yes, I sure
Yeah.
hope so.
Yeah.
We should be able to figure it out. A to A, B to B.
right? Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
My hands were smelling of coffee all night.
Of coffee.
Yeah, because
You
we
had to
didn't.
weather-
Well,
yeah.
we were outside. We didn't have the luxury of having a workshop, right? So we were outside, and we wanted to mix and water down the paint. And all I had was some leftover coffee. So I poured the coffee and mixed the paint, and the coffee itself
I
had a
wasn't
great
here for this
staining
part.
ability.
That's cool.
So I was just there rubbing it in and stuff, and then even after several
That's really
washes, my
cool.
fingers are still smelling of coffee.
That's funny. I think I must have been out doing the supplies for this. I wasn't there for that part.
Yeah,
That's
it was
funny.
fun.
Very
It was
cool.
fun.
So gentlemen, we are getting to nearing an hour on the stream.
It's been an hour already?
Yes, I know. Time
Seriously, this is
flies.
awesome.
It's very close to.
Neil, you finished pancakes yet?
Pancakes are done, man. I'm ready.
Alright.
So now, we need to have a little, I guess, a wish list here is to try and sneak all four of us into something that these guys do one day.
Cantina
And
band.
The Easter egg will be
Cantina band,
When
come
was GXW in the same scene at some point? That'd be funny. But you can't recognize us.
Maybe in one of our.
Just like Daft Punk in the background.
I want to be Angry Villager.
That's an easy wish to fulfill. That's a very easy wish to fulfill. I'm sure we can make this happen.
We could be all in the diner just eating.
He could play it so well.
I want to do. So Tales. Anybody who's joining us or has joined us recently, we talked about Tales from the 501st. This is another anthology series that Marco and I are putting together. It's to be released on our channel, the Transmute Pictures YouTube channel, kind of alongside Bucketheads. Bucketheads in general is a bigger series, so it's going to take some more time to create. But the Tales from the 501st are going to be these smaller ones. I'm re-explaining this because I don't know, when you said getting you guys together in something, all that came to mind was like The Warriors. You guys remember the movie The Warriors?
Warriors!
Yes. Well, I was thinking since you guys are a podcast, group, I was thinking the woman who's like the voice of the Warriors. She's the Freedom Radio.
Yes, yes.
Man, we could do something fun there in Star Wars where
Although I
Jen
would like
X-Wing is like leading.
I would like to dress up like a baseball fury. That'd be kind of
Oh,
cool.
man.
Phase
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
So
I want to paint my face and carry a bat. That sounds like fun.
We can make you like some kind of alien baseball furies. They got to exist somewhere, right?
Can you dig it?
So my question to you would be, how long is this going to be? We say it's similar to the original Bucketheads. Is this just going to be a snippet, this thing, or is it going to be a
Checkpoint?
story from start to finish, or is it going to be a teaser, a snippet in the life of someone? And
Checkpoint is going to be a snippet in the life of someone. So our first Tales from the 501st is going to be a series of non-connected stories, other than the fact that they all portray members from the 501st Legion, or generally the Imperial Army, right? And Checkpoint in particular follows two biker scouts on Tatooine, where they're looking for some droids. So this is sort of
familiar
linking
droids.
into a very famous moment from A New Hope. It is not the sand troopers that are actually going to find Obi-Wan and Luke and C-3PO, but it's going to be two biker scouts on the outskirts that are also looking for those droids, and then they sort of witness that incident from far away. We're sort of modeling them after the biker scouts from the final episode of season 1 of The Mandalorian, in terms of the character and the banter and whatnot. I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to be probably around 5 to 7 minutes.
Cool. It's kind of got that certain point of view book feel, or Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales from the Cantina. It's just a little bit of slice of life happening,
Yes.
while the big event's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's
That's
all different themes and genres too. Like, we don't want to stick to one genre or anything. There might be some comedies, there might be some dramas, there might be some action bits, but yeah, it's just supposed to be snapshots of various members of the 501st throughout Star Wars history and what they're doing or how they sort of had an impact, or just some comedic moments, right? Like, it's kind of all over the place in that sense.
cool. I like that.
Yeah, and the idea too is that for Marco and I, they're going to be a little bit more manageable, because we really want to go big on Bucketheads. We want to do stuff that people aren't expecting, especially when they hear fan film, right? We want to far surpass that expectation. So in order to have other things to release to people and to show that, we're still hard at work, we've got some other easier stories to do. That doesn't mean that these are going to be very simple or low quality or anything like that. We know some of the assets that we have access to that are easier.
Can I ask you a question? Now, kind of reversing the host job here, because I want to get
This
you
is
guys,
what you do normally.
Well, I
so-
want to have you guys on our show soon, but you talking about that. What are some of the challenges you guys have had when creating a fan film that deals with Star Wars canon and whether you touch the canon or don't touch the canon, just make your own little story. What are some of the challenges you have? Because there's always a lot of expectations of how certain people should behave or certain characters should act and stuff like that.
For sure.
Yeah, we've certainly encountered that everyone has an idea of what Star Wars should be. We certainly do as well, but for us it's important that we tell our own story within that established universe. So our story is original, but it doesn't contradict anything that has been officially established. Most of the time we reference certain events that people are familiar with, but we create our own story around those events and characters often as well.
Yeah, I think honestly that's a really good question because it's something that we face seriously almost daily, where we're needing to discuss things that we've already talked about or recommit to things that we've already committed to. It's a challenge in the sense that Star Wars is so big and has a very opinionated fan base, a very huge fan base, a little bit opinionated. I think in that Marco and I just know that we need to stick to our guns. We created the original Bucketheads and we loved what we came up with and we loved how it turned out. But we also see that as storytellers, there's some flaws that we notice and some things that we feel we could do better. And that's what we're trying to hold ourselves to very much so for season 1 is a better story in general, from a story perspective. We get it a lot where fans will comment and say things like, oh, I hope there's a scene of the stormtroopers mowing down rebels. And it's like, that's a scene. That makes a scene. That doesn't make a story. That's what people want to see. And we understand that. And the context of why they want to see this is from a perspective they've never seen. But that's sort of the challenge that we consistently face is that people say, oh, we don't want it to be this thing, we don't want that, and we want this one thing in it. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to try and give you that, but we still need to create a story that keeps you attached for the entirety of it, and characters you're interested in, themes and arcs and things. So I think sometimes people look at it and just think like, we're the fans, we know what we want, but then if you're breaking it down beyond the surface, it's like, do you really know what you want? Because you want a scene like that you're attached to.
But
and
also,
if we just show you that scene,
there's also
you're not
50
attached
billion
to it.
fans, right, with their own perspective on how everything should be. And you're never going to win. So you either
For
get
sure.
out, you either get
And
out
that's
there
the
and do
sticking
something
point,
yourself and
Yeah.
create something which is cool and should be embraced as being part of the universe, or you just keep it in your head and just say, well, this is what I would do if I was.
And actually, just one last thing for what you asked too, in sticking to canon, right, is another thing that we face all the time is like, well, first figuring out what's canon, because there is, again, so much Star Wars. It's crazy how much there is.
Is there canon anymore?
You talk to Terry Chu, he'll tell you the canon.
Yeah, we got plenty of people who we can
Yeah,
speak to,
yeah.
and they will set us straight on what's canon and what's not. But I think we've just, again, ultimately decided that we're choosing the elements we find the most interesting and intriguing and that have a lot of room for growth. And again, we know our own story. We know where we want our characters to go and what we want them to do, so I think it's safe to say we're more in the vein of canon, but we're absolutely leaving things out.
Yeah.
And we're equally drawing elements from legends in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Two things real quick. One, you have to stick to canon, because if all of a sudden you're marrying like Yaddle and Yoda out of the blue, I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Of
People
course.
will not buy the rest
Yeah.
of the story.
Yeah.
And two, as Jamie was always taught me very well, expectations are something you should leave at the door when you go into something like this. And so whether you're watching a fan film, watching an actual movie, you need to leave your expectations, because the fan is not the story writer. And in this case, you guys are the story writer. As long as you don't tread on something too sacred or too outlandish, then I think you just have to accept the story.
I just saw Luke in the last film just going like, no, the sacred texts. But one more thing on that note, it is important to us that we give people that we deliver on what we initially promised, which is a show about stormtroopers. And for us too, it's important that we show stormtroopers as the badass soldiers of the Empire that they are. And that's certainly something that we made sure is going to be reflected in our show, particularly in episode 1. There's so many cool scenes where stormtroopers just absolutely slay, annihilate. What can I say?
Act as real.
Yeah.
Do their
real
job.
Military as real
Exactly.
stormtroopers. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
something that we just always. I mean, that's been a beginning point for Bucketheads.
Yeah.
Is just seeing the stormtroopers be real cohesive fighting units. You know,
And
They are the bad
in
guys.
different
They're the bad guys.
in
The
different
best.
settings too, right? Like
Yeah.
we have actual like battlefield scenarios on Endor. We're gonna go to Coruscant to fight in a more urban setting. Like we have plenty of really cool stormtrooper scenes in store.
Yeah. Rob, you said something there, and it's slipping me right now. Oh,
I know what I usually say is so fantastic,
so
and
profound. Oh no, there was something you said about not treading on things that are sacred too.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, really important, and something that Marco and I recognized from the beginning is, doing a fan film certainly brings up in people's minds a certain image or a connotation, right? Oh, they're going to touch on the things that we already know.
Yeah.
And that's a fine blend, I think, to create something that's memorable and that is a good fan film. You need to, like you said, not tread on things that are super sacred. I think that's a problem that Marco and I, we did quite a lot of research in Star Wars fan films when we started doing this. We wanted to make sure we had an original story and that we weren't, doing things that you'd seen before or ideas that had been proposed before. But what we saw a lot was that people would take existing storylines or existing arcs, existing characters, or just redo something that you already know, right? The ending of a film. Well, they didn't like it, so they wanted it to turn out this way, so that's what they did. And those are all totally fine. It's great
If
that
that's
people,
how you present it.
yeah, and it's great that people have that love for it, but that's not what we want to do. We want to take an original story because we think that there is so much to Star Wars. There's so much history and lore and things that are left unseen but insinuated, right? How did these systems come to be owned by the Empire? We never saw that, but we know something must have happened there.
One of the problems with I read the recent point of view book, and one of the problems that I loved it, but at the same time there's some issues where the world was too small. Like I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, but where you have TK421, his connection with person A and thing B and moment C, it was like too close. And sometimes sometimes people just don't know each other.
Yeah.
And why not tell a nice story like that? So
Yeah. Actually, this is a bit off topic, but I was watching an anime the other day that had the same kind of issue. It was about wizards and whatnot, but it was like every character that came in knew each other. And it's like you're in this massive world of like wizards and magic and stuff, and it's like, oh hey, this guy, and it's like, wow,
I'm from Vancouver, you know Harold.
Yeah, did you all grow up together? Like it just making the world too small is definitely a problem in certain mediums. Yeah. This is a good segue for a question I wanted to ask all you guys. Is there something that you don't all know much about Buckethead Season 1 coming up? Like, I think maybe Steve has the most knowledge, but I don't even think that you know
I stole the script.
a lot.
Whatever I've been told, I've probably forgotten.
Yes, exactly. So is there anything that you guys want to see explored, that you guys think would be interesting to see? The timeline we've talked about a whole ton is from the Battle of Endor up to the Battle of Jakku, right? It sort of bridges the gap between...
I'd like to hear Neil's answer on that one.
Agreed.
What would I like to see? I would love to see that. I always wonder what happens in the downtime. And that's why there was that scene in Mandalorian when they're just sitting on the speeder bikes and punching Baby Yoda. Sorry, Baby Yoda.
Forgot how many times they hit him.
He got in trouble for that, too. The puppet was, what, $5 million or something? But I love the downtime. Like, what do stormtroopers do on their day off? Just sitting around? Are they playing beer pong? Whatever. I don't want it to become like a satire or anything, or a total comedy like Troops or something. But they must have furlough, or they're just out and about, or I don't know. I like the day-to-day in between stuff. So I'd like to see some of that.
It's definitely the stuff that's missing from the movies, and again, that's kind of where we started the whole thing. Was all you ever see of the stormtroopers is like they're marching or they're missing.
Well, I guess Clone Wars kind of covered that, though, right? In I don't know which episode it was, but I remember when they went to the bar and there was all the clones in the bar. They were kicking back and wearing their non-armor uniforms.
Yeah. Different era, I guess. Like I'm thinking stormtroopers to clone troopers.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It does show the.
That's the
downside
one I
of it.
can remember seeing it. Oh, they do have a life and they do hang out.
Yeah.
Maybe
They
you
did a
can
great
do
job
a
of-
volleyball scene like in Top Gun.
But still wearing their buckets.
Yeah.
Oh my
Shirtless.
Speedos,
Nice pants, but a
Speedos
bucket.
and buckets. Yeah.
I would definitely love
And
to
missing
see
the
that.
ball
Yeah,
every damn time.
Can we make
my
the
God.
the beach
Yes.
troopers from Lego Star Wars
Writing this
canon
down
with
right
that?
now.
There you
Just
go.
speedos and buckets.
Yeah, speedos and buckets, man. That'd be
It's like a
great.
Baywatch scene
right?
all of a sudden.
I am in. I've already done Captain No Pants.
I gotta get
so
back
I'll,
in the
I'll
shape.
definitely.
I think we have a really, really solid 10-second sketch here that just builds up to that in slow motion and then just completely misses.
But
the
you
mark.
do that with the ball.
You
Yeah.
got to start it really epic by just showing really tight shots on the helmets and
Yeah.
like sun, beaming and slow mo, and then you do the wide where everyone's in speedos and come on guys.
Playing with the boys.
Okay, so now it has to happen. There's
Episode 2 of Tales from the
Just give it some
501st.
time. We gotta get to shape.
But no. What Anil has just volunteered.
Yeah, this
So
is
I will.
Sounds
I will
like-
gladly lend Anil my bucket for that scene.
You're my
100%.
goose.
the bucket. It
I'm
fits.
not lending him my speedo.
You gotta cut that hair, Neil, because I don't think it's gonna fit inside.
Oh my lord.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie, let's hear from you. Anything leading into Bucketheads season 1 that you'd like to see? Any interesting bits of Star Wars or lore? Or...
Nothing specific, just troopers as human beings and potentially just struggling or not struggling with the morality of what they do. That was Steve mentioned Clone Wars, and those were always my favorite episodes. There was when they kind of touch on the morality of clones as human beings and the morality of using them as basically like a slave army. So like what does that dynamic look like, and what does a stormtrooper think about what they do and what they're told to do.
Nice.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we'll be able to deliver on.
I think you'll be happy, Jamie. I think you'll be happy.
I had no doubt.
Excellent.
Either of you fine gentlemen? Anything?
I've always wondered, and someone's probably going to correct me somewhere out there in the world of knowing everything, but I'd like to know what is the Stormtrooper, because we know about the clones, we know the backstory of a clone, and the clones are all clones, but there's never been a kind of story which tells that in-between part. From when the clones obviously weren't made anymore and it died off. You're going to have some clones still, I'm sure, but they kind of touched on it in the last Star Wars movie, where it sounds as if they were just kidnapping children and making them into stormtroopers, right?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be really nice to have a story of that side of it. Like, what is the stormtrooper? Who is the current stormtrooper we know? When did it stop being a manufactured soldier, and is it just people from everyday life in that galaxy?
And I
Or
think
is
that's
it, what is it? I don't know. And a lot of people even today say that, well, they're all clones. Well, no, that's the clones.
No, yeah. I was just gonna say it's caused a ton of confusion in the fandom, because we get that all the time, where people will watch the original one and see some of the helmets off, and they go, "Oh, this was great until you didn't use a clone," and it's like, well, they weren't clones at that point.
And we only
They were
heard
people.
from 2 stormtroopers in the last movie, and that was Finn and what was the
Oh, the lady.
Phasma, you're talking
no. The one that they meet
Oh,
on
the other, they meet on.
I can't remember what the name was. I can't remember what the character name was.
Forgettable character
yeah,
number
she's-
87.
Yeah, so those two were talking, and you were a stormtrooper too.
Yes.
Like,
I
so they were
remember
both
this.
taken. They were both. So okay, we need more of this, right? Because
Yeah,
now
what
you're
a
taking
wasted
one thing,
opportunity.
you're giving us another thing, and like 2 and 2 together means how are they doing this? So was it
Yeah.
literally during the course of annihilating all the planets and taking them over, and they would just steal the kids of all the parents that they killed during the time of taking over? And that's pretty brutal, almost like a Thanos type thing, right? Just kill everyone and
sure.
take the kid, right? And
Oh,
then
boy.
you got Gamora,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's an interesting one. And then the other
Yeah.
side of that is when you mentioned Phasma, and Phasma says, FN 2187,
Yeah.
who told you to take your helmet off? Now, were they told never to take their helmets off? Were
Probably.
they always in a helmet?
This is another thing that.
Do they sleep with it? Do they shower with
No,
it?
I think it's
Well,
about
they're
permission.
going to
more
play
than anything
volleyball
else.
with it. We know
Well,
that.
we know
so,
that.
what else?
Recreation is with it.
So again, there's like going back to the day in the life of one of these guys. There's so much more that can be told in that story, because we just don't know. They're just the awesome looking skeletons that are real, right? They were the scary looking stormtroopers.
And
There's tons of great ideas here, and I think I already know what episode 2 of Tales from the 501st is going to be.
there you go. I was just gonna say
Writer
there's
credit right here.
some of the things like they have been talked about a little bit in, I don't know which, stories, books or TV or whatnot, but like the stormtroopers, I know this is a comment we get all the time, is that the stormtroopers aren't supposed to talk. They're not supposed to have casual conversation
Or
to one
opinions.
another. Yeah, or opinions.
Anything.
Which
It's
is like
a soldier, right?
Which like I understand why that was created, and I appreciate it from sort of a authoritarian galactic military perspective. But then I also think that some people just take it way too far in that we get the comment all the time. It's like they shouldn't talk. It's like, guys, how would you know anything about them? Why would you care about them?
They do talk.
Why?
I mean, even in Star Wars, they're
They
talking
do.
about, Dave, you
And
seen
they
that
do.
such and such?
Yeah, they talk in A New Hope.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It's a funny piece of.
But you get that in most movies, though, right? I mean,
You
if you
do.
think about the even going back to the times of James Bond and the evil, the evil guy out there. He's got his henchmen everywhere. He's got his army of guys in red jumpsuits and yellow hats or whatever it's going to be. They're non-existent, and I always remember the play on that, and the comedy of that was, I think it was Austin Powers, where he runs them over or something like that. He kills one of the henchmen, and it cuts back to the scene of the family. Like, is Dad coming home tonight? Like, I don't know. And you're like, oh, dude, I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
We're just wiping out all these people because they're bad, but maybe it's just their job, right? It's
A bit of trivia. I think they almost tried to do the scene like that with Rats Tyrell in the pod racing scene. He was that little guy who he had a wife and a bunch of kids.
Seeing him off.
And he was supposed to have crashed and died in this. I think he did in the pod racing. And then later on, there you see a scene with them kind of mourning the loss of their dad or something like that. It was.
Jeez, that's dark.
It was. That's how we got Jar Jar, I guess, to lighten the mood.
Yeah, I guess so.
You said Dad is dead.
See, kids, it's fine.
Yeah.
Jar Jar said
It's
it.
okay.
Oh boy.
Okay, Jar Jar will handle it.
Yeah.
We got to drop some bad news. Get Jar Jar.
But that is a funny trope that gets
I'm not
explored
digging on Jar
sometimes.
Jar. I'm not digging on Jar Jar. I have respect for that character. So.
If anyone has seen Venture Bros, which is another
Yes.
cartoon out there, but they do a great. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 seasons of it, but some of the characters you follow are the henchmen of some of the bad guys that they explore very well as to like, they're just doing their jobs and they're regular dudes. They do like a 9 to 5 as a henchman.
Yeah,
and then-
maybe that's a boring story for some people. For me, that's interesting. I want to know how it evolved. How
Well,
we got
yeah.
to where we got to.
All-
Who selects the Sith trooper? The new guy in the red, cool looking. Where did they come from?
Totally.
Like, it's like, it's something that would be good.
Just the whole scene of an emperor's royal guard just wanting to itch his nose but can't move, and just the mind tricks that he goes into his head, and he's just like, I gotta itch, but I can't move. All of a sudden, Luke's walking in the scene, and it's just like, he's okay. I gotta be cool, but I really gotta go to the bathroom. It's
this
just.
is what you want to see?
That's what I want.
We need
to
you
see.
guys to start.
I now I want to see the bathroom.
You
I
wanna
want
see
to
a
see. I want to
bathroom
see
in
the
the
build
Star
up
Wars
to.
canon?
I want to see the
No
build up
one's
to
ever
it.
seen a bathroom.
moment.
in the
No one's ever
Death
seen a
Star
bathroom.
or
He walks
Death
out and
Star.
his cape's a little bit moist, and
That
it's
was in the
just.
comics.
What's that, Anil?
Yeah, they did that with Tag and Binks in the comics. Where
Oh, I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen any of those comics.
They
yet.
end up being the Royal Guard in
Oh, I didn't know that,
Spoilers.
dude.
came
I gotta
out.
retake
But wouldn't it be cool to see a day in the life of the Emperor? Like when he's kicking back, like if he did have his son and daughter or if he's, let's see that. I want to see that story
On the beaches of Scarif.
because he would have been all crispy and crinkly by then. So
This is
what
all
the
reminding
heck
me.
happened there?
This is all reminding me a little bit of the
Become Robot
what's it-
Chicken at that point, doesn't it?
What the hell's all little
That does sound like a robot chicken, yeah. I was thinking Undercover Boss with Kylo Ren. The SNL reminds me a bit of that one.
Yeah.
A great idea, I think, would be to see the just back to something a little more serious, maybe. There's got to be some animosity. What Steve was saying between the clone, the troopers that were clones, and then this new batch of human troopers, right? There's
Agreed.
kind of friction between the two, almost like a faction split. The other thing I'd love to see is kind of the clickiness of the biker scouts versus like
Pilots.
the
definitely.
tank pilots and the flame troopers, whatever you got, right?
Yo, no, Vader, how you doing?
You know what? That's funny that you say that, Anil. Marco and I have talked about that one a little bit because that's a pretty true to life military thing too, right? The Navy and the Army and the
Space Force.
Air Force and the Space Force now all don't necessarily get along. there's a bit of competition there. And so why wouldn't there be in Star Wars 2 between shore troopers and death troopers and stormtroopers and TIE pilots?
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Then they have a volleyball game, Army versus Navy.
Yeah.
And it's settled on the same.
No, it could be like meatballs with a big camp Olympics.
Wow. I love it. That's awesome.
Okay, we need you guys.
We're doing this. We're
doing it. We own this idea now. It's ours.
What do you mean? This is happening. You guys got to write for this. We're gonna get you guys writing for
patent pending.
Yeah, Tales from the 501st. Dang, this is all recorded. We can't even steal this now. Well, I think those are some fantastic ideas for where to go in the future, and we'll certainly have to look to you all for our Tales from the 501st and what ideas to explore.
Yeah.
I think that is pretty much it for us, gentlemen. It's been about an hour.
3 hours. We can do this.
We could go for 3 more hours. We did it on the first live stream. God, that was 4.5 hours.
Really? Was it that long?
Yeah, and I think I only had like 3 hours of sleep that night. It was an obscene.
You guys looked amazing.
Did I was seriously for that
amazingly
for that entire stream, I would be looking at someone and just in my brain I would be going like, "Don't move your eyes, don't move your eyes, don't blink, don't move your eyes." Yeah. Okay, what are your eyes doing now? What's your eyebrows?
All I was
your
saying was,
eyebrows
Andy, lean forward, man. You were like surviving, just talking and surviving. You had to lean forward, dude. Stay away.
Dude, there was a few moments in that one.
That's your next idea. The Emperor's Guard just kind of nodding off a little bit, trying not to fall asleep.
That's the perks of wearing a helmet. No one can tell with the eyes open.
That's true.
It's the snoring that gives it away.
You just turn your comms off.
Just echoes.
Through the helmet. Well, gentlemen, thank you all for joining us so much. One last time, we have Rob Williams, Steve Davey on screen, Anil Sharma, and Jamie. Say a little noise so you pop up on screen. Jamie Millman.
Hey, guys.
Hey, there he is.
Settle down, Jamie. Settle down.
All the wonderful presenters of the Gen X-Wing podcast, which one more time, maybe Rob, one more time, where can we find you guys?
So Generation X-Wing podcast, we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Network, so a whole bunch of other Star Wars podcasts. You can check us out there. YouTube, you can check out, I'm going to plug myself again, The Outer Rim Rookie for a beginner's journey to join the 501st. And yes, and anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, you know the places. So, and GenerationXwing.com. So.
Perfect.
Awesome. And Anil as well, if you want to check out any of Anil's awesome artwork, you can check him out on Instagram on Space Hindu 78? 73, pardon me, Space Hindu 73.
And if you want to check out Steve's amazing cosplays, what's your Instagram handle, Steve?
Can we say it?
This is not a show for kids. This is YouTube.
Yeah. Shit spackled Muppet fart.
That's the greatest Instagram handle I've ever heard.
Yeah.
No, that
one
was
of the funniest times of my life was going to the cinema. Am I allowed to say cinema without being laughed at?
The cinema.
Going to the movies
laughing at you now.
with Jamie. We went to watch Deadpool. If you've ever been to a movie with Jamie and it's a comedy, just beware that he will laugh constantly through the whole movie. So you'll never know when the punchline's coming because he just doesn't stop. It just gets louder. But the classic line, which I don't know if it's one of his favorites, but my favorite for sure is when Deadpool lets out that, "You only work for that shit spackle Muppet fart." And that just stuck with me, and that's my handle. And I've got away with it. I don't know how, but I've got it. And there you go.
That is beautiful. Well, apologies to any children watching. That's a true handle. There's some good stuff on there.
I want to thank you guys for this. I really appreciate the videos you get put up because it gets me excited and I'm consciously pushing the Patreon because it really, when I see that a bunch of guys who have a passion for what they're doing, it makes me trust the product and makes me trust that you guys will do the best you can. So, and again, it does sound like a push, but it's a genuine push. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Because I watch the live streams. I usually miss them at the end, so I got to rewatch them. But I love the talk, and it just I have faith. I have total faith in this.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
we appreciate it, man. The Patreon. If anybody is watching this and interested in donating towards the project, we very much need the fans' help. We've said it before. We'll say it again. We will be making episode 1. Everything after that is very much up to the fandom. If they want to continue seeing this, we need your guys' help. Pardon me. So the Patreon link is below in the video description. Go check it out. There's tons of awesome goodies. There's lots of digital artwork we're curating specifically for the patrons. We've got some physical goodies, patches, coins, things like that we'll be shipping out at the release of episode 1. Say it again, Neil.
Blue milk.
Blue milk. We've
Yeah.
now got Anil's probably expired packet of blue milk, but also a wonderful portrait that he said he'd draw for us of Aunt Beru. Yeah, there's tons of goodies there for you guys, so go check it out on our Patreon link below in the video description. And again, we need the fans' help. This is up to you guys. If you want to see it, we have created an excellent story and have literally an insane team of professionals from every major motion picture you've probably ever seen attached to this thing. So check it out and help support the project.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. And we won't be on air next weekend because we'll be filming the first installation of the Tales from the 501st anthology series. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
That's it for now.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
have a good one.
Playing with the boys.